Amber Alert is still an urgent call for Hannah and Ethan Anderson this hour. The search area includes California, Oregon, and Washington after reported sightings in those states really kind of expanded the search. Specifically, tips came from Alturas, California, Lakeview, Oregon. We know police have received hundreds of calls, and a law enforcement source says police are still anxiously awaiting DNA tests, which should tell them if the remains found at the crime scene are those of 8-year-old Ethan. So investigators have, been hunting down James DiMaggio for days, and don't you think it's hard to believe with so many eyes, so many cameras searching for him, that there doesn't seem to be this trace at all of one of who has become America's most wanted men?
So here's what we want to know. How is James DiMaggio going unseen? I mean, we live in an era where from streets to office buildings, you can't move without being caught on tape. To prove our point, we came here to HLN headquarters. Within minutes, I am captured on multiple cameras. So the question remains, how did this guy vanish without a trace? When Big Brother's watching in every major city, cameras are out there to capture your every move.
So you saw there, I mean, there are cameras everywhere, which makes you think unless James DiMaggio planned this abduction, how the heck is he avoiding the radar? I mean, the first thing I thought of is they got to eat.
But somebody's got to be monitoring those cameras and report, which is usually the unusual circumstance. Somebody's not sitting there saying, oh, is that James? Is that James? It's not the way it works.
That was my question to Mike. Mike, there are 30 million cameras out there. How in the world do you even begin to start looking at tape? Where do you even begin?
Well, I know here in Atlanta, they have put out a lot of cameras. You see little blue lights. Yes, they record and are on a loop for a certain period of time. But a lot of times, the traffic cameras that are run by, California Caltrans, a lot of them don't record. They're just there to look for accidents. But one of the questions I was going to ask the lieutenant, number one, did he take out a large amount of money? Because
ATM cameras.
ATM cameras, they got to stop to eat somewhere. Have they gone? I'm sure that these are things they've done, but these are things I want to ask Lieutenant about. But they might not be releasing. But But
there was that tip that led them to believe that he could be heading north up in the Washington area.
Yeah.
Would they say, okay, we can pinpoint it to this highway, so let's check those cameras to see if we see the vehicle?
Right. They thought that they had one car that apparently they had the tag readers that apparently had captured the tag number, but they weren't able to find the vehicle. So that could happen quickly. Right. So that might have given them a general direction of maybe where they are going or where they're headed.
But Judy, with everything that we've learned about him, do you see anything in his profile that would tell you this was premeditated, that this guy thought about this and knows how to stay off the grid?
Absolutely. I want to bring back that video game addiction to EverQuest that he had. This is a strategy game. It takes a lot of patience to succeed in this game. You have to really plan out your next steps. It's really about longevity in this game. Your character can get killed and you won't be able to bring that character back. And so I think he's had tons of practice in this video game arena about how to plan out, how to attack. That's part of the game too. And so I think that he's really using this. He's probably thought about this for months. And there's this kind of calm, cool, and collected, creepy thing about his personality profile that's really kind of seeping in here.
Okay, so real quickly, getting back to the video game thing, is there a chance that people who play it as intensely as he apparently did, that there becomes a blurred line between that and reality?
Absolutely. They use it oftentimes as a way to get things they're not getting in their real lives. And so if he's not getting the kind of social connection he wants in his real life, he might be getting it through this game. The number of hours that's been reported that, by his ex-wife that he was playing this game, it's, that kind of shows how involved he was. And so after a while, when you feel so powerful in this video game fictional world, you start to blur the lines between that and reality, and you start to try to bring in some of those aspects into your real life. And so I think that it's really confusing for him at this point, you know, and he doesn't see that in real life there are consequences to doing this type of thing, whereas in the video game arena, really, there's not a consequence. I mean, the video game is the consequence.
Different. There's a lieutenant colonel that advises on Call of Duty that says that the 8-year-olds playing Call of Duty now are more tactically trained than soldiers in the 80s. And so now you're dealing with fantasy stuff. You know, this is fantasy life, and if you have a delusional person, they adapt it and they're trained, and it could feed right into it.
But, you know, at the end of the day, if it's taking so long to track this guy down, you think, all right, maybe he really is just off the beaten path. I mean, we know he's a camping enthusiast, right? So we're getting wilderness expert and professional tracker Tom Brown on the phone. He's trying to predict the dangerous next move of this man. This is what everybody wants to know. What has Jim DiMaggio done with 16-year-old Hannah and 8-year-old Ethan Anderson? If he has them, again, this is allegedly, but these are their faces. And we've learned from their father, Brett Anderson, Jim was an avid camper. Brett made this public plea earlier this morning.
He's into camping. He could be anywhere. That's why people that are going out to different camp spots, please keep your eyes open. I don't care where it is.
So if he is now off the grid, what can investigators do to find him? I want to talk to Tom Brown. He's a wilderness survival expert. He wrote a book about the subject, and he's the founder of the Tracker School. So, Tom, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate it. We know that he lived in a secluded area. In your opinion, what are the chances that he's nearby?
You know, what's going to happen is he's going to probably go to an area that he's already planned out. If this isn't a spur-of-the-moment occurrence, he's probably planned this for some time. So what the officers are probably going to have to do is find out what he's been doing, where he's been going, what he might have with him, what he's accumulated, plus his favorite areas that he likes to go into the bush, you know, and also to go through actually the burned house, not to find out what's there and burned, but what's not there, because it means that he's probably taken something with him in that house, and somebody's got to know what's in that house. For instance, if he has firearms and they're not in the burn scene, that means they're with him. If he's got a tent, sleeping bag, shovels, you know, that kind of thing, these are all indicators of where he's going to go, but especially to interview the people that are close to him to find out where his favorite haunts are, where he's been researching, or where he's been going. These are all indicators of what this man is going to probably do.
Yeah, some of the pictures that we were just showing from Facebook were pictures that he had taken of areas, obviously, that he was fond of. So let me ask you this. Would a lack of supplies be what drives him out? Tom?
I didn't hear that question.
Would a lack of supplies drive him out of wherever he may be hiding?
Most of these guys that think they're survivalists or anything, but they need their supplies. They need their lifeline. If he hasn't got food, water put up, then it's probably going to
That's the question here. How long can he last, do you think? Because you would assume he only had a car full of supplies. So how long would something like that last him?
This way, that, you know, you've got to look at the order of survival. The first thing you can concern yourself with is shelter, followed by water, and fire, then food. There's probably nobody that can't really go 2 weeks without eating. Water becomes an issue.
You know, Tom's right about something. He may have planned this out and stockpiled and put things in a certain area. You know, and that's why it's very important for investigators to go back. Had he been ordering a lot of supplies online? Follow that paper trail, because that's going to tell them exactly how far he could get. You know, what kind of, does he have money? Did he take a large amount of money out? You know, does he have a cell phone? Did he shut it off, take the battery out so it wouldn't ping? These are all things I think law enforcement knows right now, but they're not really saying.
Well, Tom, let me ask you this. Does it take, you know, really special skills? I mean, is there a particular group of authorities who are specialized to go into these areas that others are not, to look for something specific?
Oh, yeah, there are people that are well trained in this, certainly, but you can literally train yourself within the span of a week to 10 days to pretty much go into a wilderness area and survive with nothing if you pay attention to what is being taught.
Tom
and
makes
my
a good point
suspicion
there.
is if
Yeah, go ahead, Tom. Sorry. Well, but Tom's making a good point there about paying attention, because they bring up this point about the campgrounds, right, Tom? Because if people are out there on summer vacation and they're out there camping, this is an area that they should be looking, not just on the roads and at the train stops.
Right.
figure any area outside of camp areas. These are things that, especially with a camper, this is going to be an easy scenario to spot for any kind of helicopter or plane surveillance. So he's got to be good at camouflaging wherever he's living.
All righty, Tom.
Abandoned cabin.
Tom, we're so grateful to have your insight today. Thank you for letting us know. Tom Brown, wilderness survival expert and founder of the Tracker School there.